some of the criticism we get is our lack of coverage of African issues. We thought if you got time, you could hang out and participate in when we take another look at what's happening or not with this version of pan-Africanism. So let me just play a little clip of this to get us sort of situated real quick, and then we'll move on.
In 2020, rapper Akon made an announcement that he was building his own $6 billion future city in Africa that looks like the hybrid of Dubai and the fictional city of Wakanda. Akon City is where innovation meets luxury, with 5 distinct districts designed to redefine urban living. See the African Village District, where modern waterfront homes beckon, and a sprawling, all-inclusive resort awaits your indulgence. Experience exhilaration in the Entertainment District, boasting a cutting-edge multi-purpose stadium and a colossal casino for endless excitement. Witness the future unfolding in the Tech District, poised to become the Silicon Valley of Africa, where groundbreaking technologies shape tomorrow's world. And of course, the essential Health and Safety District, because public services such as police stations, fire departments, and a general hospital are key to residents' quality of life. The Education District will provide comprehensive learning opportunities for both children and adults, ensuring growth and development for all. And lastly, the glamorous Sennewood District, which features 4 state-of-the-art filming studios, offices, and residential spaces, all culminating with the iconic Akon Tower piercing the skyline to glorify the genius who created this futuristic urban oasis. For the past 4 years, Akon and his team have been preparing this city to be ready for you to experience by 2024. And just 4 years later, this is what Akon City looks like today.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, so I mean, I think I watched most of that and then I started skipping through it, but there was a point where he actually started talking about how Akon had Chinese connections, and that's what got him to change some material conditions on the continent by giving people light. And then he used those same connections to do this project.
Yeah,
and there was a
30
moment.
million people in Senegal have light now because of a relationship he built with China.
Yeah. But for a moment, the white guy who was doing this film, he did a great job at representing both sides, because I was listening to it and it sounded like, you know, Chinese debt trap type shit, right? And I was like, oh boy, here you go with this shit. But then he switched and he was like, our U.S. Real estate putting people in debt traps. And so like he did a great job of representing, but I really thought he was leaning towards some anti-Chinese shit. But that was interesting. And then I wanted to pull this up real quick because we know that everybody is celebrating the recent elect president for whatever reason they want to, right? I see a bunch of brothers celebrating him because he's in a polygamous relationship. He has 2 wives. People celebrating that. But Akon, you know, is obviously in solidarity, supposedly, with this new elect president, because a lot of his conversation is around alternatives to the economy. And so I think Akon, I don't know, in terms of politics, I don't see a connection, but Akon and his Akoin, I think that's what it's called, he probably see green. He see this young president in this young ass country. I think they say like the average age is like 19 or something like that, with high unemployment. And so it will be interesting to see how this brother and this administration engage with Akon, because it's you know, Akon is known to be a grifter. And it seems like there's an argument that this brother has more radical politics, because he's even broken away from the one party that was in control. I can't remember the name of the party, but both of them got arrested. Then he got released right before the elections. He got elected, and then the other president with the old party, even though they break parties, he still are in support of them. So it'll be interesting to see how Akon maneuvers in this new lane.
Just a couple things to add to that, because as you point out, and I think this is where that videographer got most of his information. Akon City, tumbleweed rolls through site of rappers Wakanda-inspired dream. on the one hand, I do appreciate the comparisons to Wakanda and the fantasy that is equally Wakanda, but to what you were saying about Faye, I think Faye is, I think, how you pronounce the incoming president's name. The outgoing president supported Akon initially, and it was argued, just quoting a number, at least one of the people cited here, as a potential gold mine for the local community. Akon said in the past that the eponymous city would not only provide employment, but would also be a sanctuary for African Americans seeking to reconnect with their African roots. And the first thing I thought of is when I had that moment of being in the room with Mugabe when he was asked the same question about Zimbabwe. And he was like, some of you. He was like, some of you. He was like, not everybody, some of you. But then in 2021, Devin Stevens, music exec. Oh, this is talking about a lawsuit that he had with talking about this. Your point about Akon and being seen as a scammer. Stevens had a $4 million lawsuit against the singer, claiming that he owed him money from 2018. But in looking at Akon's city, Stevens' lawyer, Jeffrey Moffitt, alleged that the affidavit that Akon City and Akoin exhibited, in terms of Akoin, that is, many of the trademark characteristics of fraudulent business ventures, such as a Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes, Akon City was likely a scam. So both the city and the coin, by the way, is worth nothing at this point, and you can't even buy or sell it on any crypto trading platforms. And then this is where a little bit was in the video that we watched, we just saw that clip of, but the Society for the Development and Promotion of Coasts and Tourist Zones, SAPCO, had made an arrangement with, with Akon to support the project, meaning that he had state support for the project that was once zealous, as it says here. But that has started to dry up because there's not much happening. And I did want to highlight that point, that it's, for all of the discussion of entrepreneurialism and business, what often gets left out of that, and I think it's interesting because generally speaking, on the African continent, the idea is that African liberation will come through private enterprise because of the corruption of the government, whereas here in the States, African struggles have often required or been focused on federal government because private business has been hostile to Black people. And what I've tried to highlight in a Pan-African context is that either in each case, both are right, perhaps for slightly different reasons, but ultimately both require some sort of governmental public policy, militarized protective structure that would allow for and support the business to develop, or for the city, in this case, to develop. So this idea that you could just entrepreneurial your way without some sort of support from the state, and then to your point, Geechee, whether it's China or some other private investment, you're still going to need to have deals and arrangements with others as well, and they have to see some value in what it is that you're doing. So,
So before Rafiki and Diallo chime in, so I don't know if y'all saw on that Instagram post, but in the post, Akon was like, we're glad that he got elected and he didn't follow the coup pattern, and so it's interesting the language that Akon decides to take, right?
Say he didn't follow the trap of violence and military coup. Democracy won today.
Right. Yeah. And so it would be interesting how this thing might be played against this leadership, and it'll be like the democratic election versus the coup seizing of power. But again, like this brother in particular is being said to be more left-leaning pan-Africanist and grouping with those other governments.
Does Senegal have a history of coup d'etats? Why would he even say that? Because Senegal,
in the context of the continent, is how I took it, though.
Because but I also want to correct. I agree with everything Jared said, but he's wrong. I went to crypto.com. And Akoin is not worthless.
Oh,
you can get
$3.
The 0.003 .003. I don't know.
You are allowed to trade in it though.
With decibels.
It's
But I just wanted, you were right. I just wanted to, throw some hateration on some. I had to find something wrong with what you said. You said it was worth it. No, you can get it for $0.003.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's
caught
funny.
you.
That's funny. It's worth about as much as a Nigerian naira.
So, now that's actually deep though, what you're saying there. So the state currency is as bad as the crypto.
Crypto.com and you can corner the market in Akoin with $14.
But I just want to clarify, because in that video it did say, and so I'm happy to be that you can't even trade in it, and they showed that it said that on Coinbase you can't trade it, but apparently you can now trade in the point even at that low value, but you can in fact trade in it at least.
Yeah, you can purchase it. I don't have an account here, so I was about to get corner of the market, but I'll wait till we're done here. Go open my crypto.com account.
A million Akoins is probably equal to $37.42. So I wanted to comment before we get to Akon on the situation in Senegal. And I think we should be careful. I always have an issue when entertainers and athletes become the political spokespersons for our movements, because their only claim to relevancy is that they have some wealth or some fame or something like that, but they don't necessarily know anything about what's actually going on. The brother Faye was in jail with his comrade brother Usman, who stayed in jail throughout the elections. He was released to engage in the campaign, I think around 2 weeks before the actual election took place. And his campaign strategy was basically, I am Usman, in the sense that I represent the same things that the people that they're against and keeping in jail, who was denied access to run because of some false charges of corruption. And we've had contact with them, and we do know this brother. And he does have a history of working with pan-Africanist forces in Senegal, which is not an easy thing to do. They were a part of the ongoing demonstrations that had a mass character in Senegal when Macky Sall, who is a world-class reactionary, was suppressing people's right to resist and locking up his opposition. So I won't come out and say that this brother Faye is a dyed-in-the-wool revolutionary pan-Africanist, but I will come out to say that up to this point, the steps that he has actually taken have been in the direction of progress. And we're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt until such time that he proves otherwise. But that benefit of the doubt does not give him no wide berth. We had to see it before we believe it.
Cautious optimism.
Cautious optimism. That is correct. And my personal hope is, as soon as he gets a chance, that he connects himself to the Alliance of Sahel States and strengthen that unity. It really hasn't reached beyond the military cooperation yet, but it is also moving in the right direction. We had said when they threw the French out that we would be able to tell where they were going by their next step, which needed to be to throw the Americans out.
Right.
And they have taken that step.
Yeah.
So we're still walking with them and see what steps they take next.
So far he has separated himself from PAS TEF, and he has also speak a lot of like anti-French rhetoric. So you would say that, like you said, he's on I guess on the right path. But are there any other things that you read that he or know of that he has been doing that shows that he would probably be more favorable connected to the rest of the Sahel?
Well, there's an organization in West Africa called the West African Peoples Organization. It's comprised of pan-Africanist organizations that exist in the various countries in West Africa: Senegal, Mali, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso, like that. And his organization is a part of the West African Peoples Organization. So we know him from that work. And the West African Peoples Organization is a relatively new formation. I think it's like 2 years old. They've had some difficulty getting their actual program going. But, you have to realize these are not state agencies. These are organizations on the ground of the mass of the people. They're not government, but they're not NGOs. They're political formations, and they're working on a bottom-up grassroots process. So the expectations that we have for politicians is to win an election, whereas the expectation of the West African Peoples Organization is to organize the people. And these are two different processes with two different short, medium, and long-term outcomes. It is good when we can seize power. And this is what brings me to Akon. Because there is a sector of the so-called pan-Africanist movement who think that we can build a just society without a serious defeating of imperialism and seizure of the means of production. All of this talk about what we're going to do for Africa, as if Uncle Sam just going to say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Go right ahead. That ain't happening like that. We think that in the end, we're going to have to fight to get our land back. And we think it's naive to believe that we're going to get our land back with anything less than a serious fight. Not only do we have to fight as a unified force. We have to bring all these so-called pan-Africanist revolutionary forces together so that we can establish some kind of political and military coordination, and then identify our internal and external enemies and wage the struggle against them. That's the process that we see. Now, we have been kind of enlightened and supportive of some efforts to engage in this struggle to seize power without engaging in armed struggle. So we see this happening in Guinea-Bissau. We see this potentially being the case in Senegal. We saw it happen in Venezuela. So we do know it is possible to seize power without actually going to war in a physical military conflict. But up to now, that's still a rare occurrence. And as far as I can see, we got to fight for our freedom. Ain't nobody giving us nothing. And you can't buy it. Akon or nobody else. They talk that talk, but they ain't real. And they not the only ones talking that talk. There's a whole new sector out here of folks who claim to be pan-Africanists. And
my bad. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we did just have an earthquake over here, right? Over here in the East Coast, over here in Maryland, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm not tripping. Okay. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Really?
Yeah,
somebody
my whole
over there
house,
worshiping a golden idol.
my
I didn't
whole
feel
house started
nothing.
shaking. I was like, "This is crazy. Is this wind?" I was like, I had to check
No,
on the
it's an
dog.
earthquake.
I was like, "What's going on?" Okay, my bad.
The epicenter is in
Just
East
now.
Freehold, New Jersey, wherever that is. The epicenter
Wow.
is a 3.1 on the Richter scale, 3.1 magnitude
Wow.
in East Freehold, Jersey. You that close to Jersey?
Not necessarily, but I mean, I don't even know if you could tell the camera was, but like so I got like my lens cleaner on here, and I could just in the whole. That was what showed me at first. I was like, why is this shaking like that? And then my whole seat was shaking. The whole house started shaking. I was like, dude, what is going on?
Golden calf. Somebody got a golden calf somewhere around there.
Anthony D felt. So yeah, that's
so
wild.
swallow
So
y'all
sorry
up.
about
You
that.
better find the
Okay,
hair.
okay.
No, but
And stone him. Find that whatever is a heretic in New Jersey. Find him and stone him.
is that stochastic terrorism there?
Huh?
You trying to get somebody stoned?
Y'all, it's a lot of spiritual and religious people in our
Oh my god!
chat.
So speaking of traitors or whatever, this what is this? Soliman,
Yeah.
is one of the leaders from the organization. Was it Sapo? Sapco is who took the land from the villagers to even make space for Akon to do what he got to do. So, the villagers are still struggling to get that land that Akon supposedly was building his Khan city on. But you know, as Baba Rafiki shared, there's always gonna be them brothers that look like us, as good as they sound, as Pan-African as they want to be.
But at least, at the very least, Akon has never lied about seeking profit. I mean, he's been interviewed by Forbes magazine and these other Western entities where he's always said that, you know, this is a capitalist, profit-driven enterprise. Yeah. At least he didn't lie about that. Is as much as he has rhetoric about serving the people and being for, by, and of the people. At least anybody who supports this vein or this strategy of development can't say that they were tricked, because his capitalist allegiances and his desire and to accumulate fiat and profit, at least he doesn't cover that up. That I think that's the angle.
Honesty don't mean accurate, right? So he also says Akon said a man can create a child, or he can create life without a woman, and we don't really need the women.
So that was the other
I'm
part
just
of
saying
that.
That anyone who is championing, because I hear people talk about his exploits and accomplishments on the continent, nobody can say, well, you are endorsing a capitalist, profit-driven endeavor with Akon electricity and all that. And
hearing him talk about women, though, even my patriarchy had to clutch its pearls. Boy, I was like, damn,
this dude said he's gonna shoot one in a tube and create a baby just out of the air. He was
like, we don't need women. I don't need to be around to raise my kids. Maybe if the boy gets old enough, I'll chime in at the end to prepare him for manhood. But that's the woman's job. I gotta be. How can I be a king if I'm at home going to dance recitals? That's what he said.
Muslim sounds like a
he said all his baby mama. He said all his baby mamas need to teach.
Y'all talk about Islam without saying the name Islam. Y'all say, hey, that sounds Islamic to me.
Anyway,
you can't say where he's coming from. You can't say what the origins of his identity and philosophy.
There's no patriarchy and atheism, Diallo.
That sounds hella
clearly
Islamic
not.
to me.
We don't have patriarchy and atheism, Diallo.